Welcome to video 8 in our series on options. So as promised, I'd like to look at profit diagrams for a short put position. And so this will be short put, profit. Again, we're still looking at profit as a function of stock price as of option expiration. And you remember the profit diagram, the value diagram for a put option looked like, for a long put rather, looked like this. And so we're not surprised that for a short put, given a strike price of X, it'll be that rotated around the horizontal axis. And so the put price from our prior example, when we bought the put, was $210. So now we'll assume that we wrote that put. And when we wrote the put, we received the $210. So here I'll note plus $210. And if the put expires worthless, then since I sold to open, I won't have to buy to close, and I'll get to keep every penny that I received when I wrote the put, and that will become my profit. And what will cause the put to expire worthless? Well, a put option gives you the right to sell, in this case at X. X will pretend, again, is 40. And so if stock price exceeds 40, is greater than 40 at option expiration, then this put would be worthless. So, and that would be good for someone who wrote the put, right? Bad for someone who bought the put, but good for someone who initially wrote the put. And so the put expires worthless at these stock prices, and that means we have to, our buy to close price is 0, even though we don't really have to do it. So I flatline here at plus 210. But as you can guess, these are the prices where the put takes on value. If stock price is down here, the value of the put will increase. And remember, if the put has value a moment before option expiration, our assumption here is that we're going to buy to close and then either earn a profit or a loss, and we're going to see how much. Well, now we'll go at it a little more quickly and more directly. We have to recoup $210. We have a $210 buffer in proceeds, so we could afford to pay up to $210 for the put to buy to close and still break even. So the question then is, what stock price at option expiration would cause us to break even? Well, it would be a stock price that would cause the put to have a value of $210, and that is going to be a stock price of $37.90. So that's our break even. Right, that's our break even. And I'll now connect this. This is not drawn to scale, okay? And this is our break even. Now, something very interesting here again is that for the prices between X, strike price, and $37.90, the break even stock price as of option expiration, those are prices where the put is in the money at option expiration. Okay, those as well as all these, but this is particularly interesting here. That's why I indicate that in green. And so these are stock prices where the put expires in the money, and even though we wrote the put, we still profit because our proceeds from writing the put exceed the price we have to pay to buy to close the put. Now, as we did with the calls, let's put up here our long put profit diagram, and we flatline at minus 210, and then of course we go through the same break even, and up here, and now we see that, so the black line, black equals long put profit diagram, and red equals short put profit diagram. Okay, and again, this is a wonderful image for you to store in your mind. There's a lot of insight here. And here we see something interesting, that with put positions, whether you're long or short, both long puts and short positions have maximum losses and maximum gains. In other words, you have limited loss and limited gains, okay? Again, these are not drawn to scale. In other words, this potential loss and this potential gain here are both much larger than this profit and this loss. This should be symmetric. Let me just fix up the picture here for a moment. There we go. This is equidistant, even though my drawing is imperfect. My apologies. So here, these are prices for which the put expires in the money. And notice, if you're short the put, you still win there. If you're long the put, you still lose there, even though you've bought a put that expired in the money. And then, of course, a large possible profit for the long put position, a large possible loss for the short put position. Again, this distance here will be X times 100, again 4,000 in the current case. And it's also true that this distance between this and this will also be X times 100, again 4,000 here. Okay. All right, so again, a very important visual to have. We've seen how to calculate a break even for both long and short put positions. We've seen, again, the distances, X times 100. Now let's just finish and indicate the maximum possible loss possible with a short put. That would be this point right here. Since we have plus 10 here and this distance has to be 4,000, this loss here has to be minus 3,790. And as we've seen before, if we go long the put, we start off by spending $210. And then, therefore, the best possible outcome would be $4,000 north of that, which would be right there at plus $3,790 profit. So that's a very important diagram for puts. You saw a similar diagram for calls, and it really shows you that writers of options have an inherent advantage with respect to just being categorized as a winner rather than a loser. It's because of this area right in here, okay? So it's as if the writers of the option have an advantage in a sense. Of course, if one writes an option, in this case, writing a put, with that profit diagram that we just saw, you have a maximum gain, a maximum loss, but that maximum loss could indeed be quite large. On the other hand, when you write a call option, and I'll show it in red, when you write a call option, you have a profit diagram that looks like this. I circle that because writing a call indicates the possibility of an infinite loss. So this is a call, short call. Down here, of course, is a short put. And we see that writing a call, quite different from a short put, infinite potential loss. Again, reviewing short put in red, large but limited possible loss. Short call, clear as could be, potentially infinite loss. Still the maximum possible, still a limited gain on writing a call. When you're writing a call or writing a put, the best possible outcome is that you will get to keep all the proceeds you received when you wrote the option. Let's take a look at what the statements prepared by brokers look like when we take a short position in. Well, we'll look at a call first. So if you have an account, a brokerage account with some cash in, and you have an authorization to write uncovered calls, which is what we've been talking about, and you write a call. So you have -1, whenever you're short something, it's a negative sign position. -1, I'll use a fictitious XYZ, 75 call, expiring March 2020. Okay, so that's your position, okay? Now, think for a moment. If you owned 100 shares of stock that cost $10 each, that would show in your brokerage account as having a market value of $1,000. If you owned 100 shares of stock priced at $10 per share, you'd have a market value for that position of plus 1,000. Let's say the price of this call is $300. What will the market value of our position be if the price of this call at the moment we write it is $300? Well, don't get confused. We also have plus $300 of US dollar cash, right? Market value 300 plus, right? So it's not the actual cash. I'm focusing on the market value of the short call. You'd agree that if I just recently wrote a call, that it's highly unlikely that I have a profit yet. In other words, I can't write a call and instantly claim to have a profit of $300. And the reason I can't do that has to be evident in the statements prepared by our broker. And that's what I'm showing you here, is that if I just wrote a call for $300, we're going to ignore the bid-ask spread right now. Let's just assume that $300 is the current price of the call, the relevant quote for the call. That means that's what I'd have to pay to buy to close. I've already sold to open, received $300 cash because it had a price of $300. But if I wanted to immediately close it, we'll assume I have to pay $300. And that means the market value is not $300, but rather minus $300. In other words, the market value of short positions always has a minus sign. And then you can see that in this case, the sum of my assets is 0. Okay? This ignores the other cash I have in my account. But the sum of the assets and liabilities relevant to the short sale, proceeds from cash, proceeds from short sale, and then the market value of the call that I'm short, sum to 0. That's consistent with us not being able to just immediately create wealth by writing calls. What we're hoping will happen, since we wrote the call, is that as time goes by, things happen, things that we'll talk about in great detail in this series, things will happen that will cause the value of that call to go lower. The value of the call value is always positive. So we're hoping things that will happen to the value of that call will cause the value of that call to go lower, or result in the value of that call being lower. And let's say the option has 3 months life, and after 1 month, it just ends up that the value of the call option is $200. Well, that means at that point, the market value of that position will be minus 200, and then the difference here will be plus 100. Okay, so right there, at this moment, I've actually increased my wealth. At that moment, I've actually increased my wealth as of that moment by $100. What we're hoping is that the call option expires worthless so that at some point, the market value is 0, and then we see plus 300 there. Okay, so that's valuable to think of how this information appears in your brokerage statement. In other words, important point, you can't instantly create wealth by writing options. Why not? Well, common sense says you can, but why not in the documentation? Because while it's true that you do have cash, the proceeds from writing the option, you also have a liability that has to be recorded as indicated here. And that will be enough for video 8. Thank you.